Hello and welcome back to Lunch Break Heroes. Today we are venturing back into the frozen far north and talking about the town of Targos. We're going to be expanding it with a new area. We're going to be adding some new shops and locations. We're going to talk about the speaker's background, why he's here, and what nefarious deeds is he up to, and even adding a ghostly companion for your players. Rime of the Frostmaiden takes place in the year 1489 DR, or thereabouts. Your game may vary, you may not even care about the year, but that's the established background lore. Way back in 1351 DR, a cataclysm occurred in and around Targos and other areas of Icewind Dale. Some bad guy named Akar Kessel got a hold of some pretty powerful magic, and he devastated a lot of areas, including basically an entire quarter of Targos. That area is devastated to this day. It was never rebuilt. It's called the ASH Quarter. This ASH Quarter features prominently in the changes that we've made to this chapter. First and foremost is the proprietor of the Luskan Arms Inn, Owen Tarsenel. The module states that he's depressed because of the long winter and whatnot, which is a perfectly valid reason to be depressed. But we've gone ahead and we've changed his reason. We wanted to give it something a bit more concrete, something that the players could connect to and maybe even interact with, something that really tied into the themes of the story. You see, Owen's wife was named Esther Tarsenel. Esther was alive up until about 2 years ago, when she was the very first human sacrifice that was ever made to Auril. When Esther's name was drawn in the lottery, she and Owen decided to hightail it out of Targos with their daughter Stefania. Owen told Esther to go hide in the Ash Quarter. Owen decided to go back to the Luskan Arms Inn so that he could gather Stefania and some belongings, some coin and whatnot. That way they could get out of there without anybody hopefully noticing that they were gone. Unfortunately for Owen, and very unfortunately for Stefania, she was found. She was uncovered. The townspeople took her, and the rest is history. She became the first sacrifice to Auril, and Owen was distraught. He blamed himself. He feels like if he had been there, if he had stuck with her, maybe he could have done something. He could have fought them off or whatnot. He doesn't know. He's absolutely wrong in all of this. There was nothing that he could have done, but that doesn't stop the guilt that he feels. In order to make sure that nothing like this happened to his family ever again, in order to protect Stefania first and foremost, Owen decided to make a deal with speaker Nerth Maxildinar. You see, Nerth is the one that runs the lottery, in conjunction with the Church of Auril, which we will talk about in a little bit. Nerth has been doing this dastardly thing where he's been taking bribes to take people's names out of the lottery, or even to put people's names in extra times. He's a very unsavory individual, and this ties in really well with the cold-hearted killer quest at the beginning of the module. Maybe Nerth is a target himself. Maybe even Owen and Stefania are potential targets. So feel free to work those guys in as you see fit. Despite the lucrative nature of his little protection racket, Nerth is having some money problems as far as the Zhentarim are concerned. As you know, Nerth is a member of the Zhentarim who thrive on money and gaining power and all of that. But with the eternal winter, trade has been disrupted. There's not a lot of people coming into Icewind Dale and buying stuff. The fishermen aren't catching much fish because the lakes are frozen over. Things just aren't really good financially, and as such, Nerth has been having to make some excuses. He's been trying to butter up his superiors in the Zhentarim chain of command and hope that they don't just have him killed and replaced. He's been using those little flying snakes as messengers, and if your party catches a glimpse of them during the day or whatever, maybe as a random event, they can intercept one, and they find an encoded letter. With a DC 18 intelligence check, they can decode this letter and get wind of Nerth's money problems and who he's writing to. Nerth is a pretty smart guy. He didn't get to where he is by being dumb or just lucky. He knows how to use the tools at his disposal, and that includes the people around him. If your party makes a name for themselves or they do some jobs for him and they prove themselves to be capable adventurers, Nerth is going to see them as a tool, as a means to an end. He knows that this winter has some sort of supernatural cause, and you guys look like just the kind of wonderful people that would go out and get to the bottom of things. As the town of Bremen has shown us, you can never have enough taverns. We've gone ahead and we've added one more to Targos. This is a great place for your characters to kick back, relax, hear some rumors, and interact with the proprietor, Celia Winters. Celia was Esther Tarsenel's best friend up until Esther died 2 years ago. Now, a lot like Esther's daughter, Celia has been able to get on with her life and return to a sense of normality. But recent events, however, have kind of shaken her to her core. One day, about a week ago, Celia was wandering around near the Ash Quarter on her way to wherever, and she looked, and she could have swore that she saw Esther standing in the window of one of the ruined buildings. She looked away, rubbed her eyes, looked back, and Esther was gone. Now, Celia has convinced herself that this was a hallucination, just her eyes playing tricks on her, but that's not really the case. Esther's actually there in Ash Quarter. She is an NPC that you can interact with and even recruit. We talk about her in our NPC chapter that you can watch up there. Celia has lived in Icewind Dale all her life. As such, she's a product of her environment. She's cold, she's hard, she's rational, and she's not having any of this poltergeist nonsense. She's brushing it away. She's not talking about it to anybody unless they succeed on a DC 13 persuasion check, or they get her drunk. In that case, everything just falls out of her mouth. But if your party is looking for information about a ghostly figure that's haunting Ash Quarter, Celia is definitely somebody that they should talk to. Before we get on to that next bit here, did you know you can get this guide and all of the other Lunch Break Heroes guides for as little as $1 over on Patreon? That's right, you can download these PDFs and keep them forever to help you step up your game. And with this particular guide, you can upgrade to the silver tier of our Patreon and get this wonderful map from Venatus Maps to load up into your game, into your virtual tabletop. This is the Church of the Eternal Winter, and he has done a fantastic job on this thing. I love this map. Now, that being said, on with the rest of the guide. We've added another location to Targos, and that is a blacksmith's shop. Bryn Shander should not be the only place with a smithy. Targos is a big town, of course it should have a smithy. And here we are with Grendel's Fine Dwarven Craft. Grendel's lived here all his life. He was actually a kid when the Ash Quarter was created. You know, or can you say that about a ruin? The ruin was created. Anyways, he was there when it happened. So he can tell your party all about the origin of the Ash Quarter. He can also repair basically anything they have, any of their metal equipment or whatnot. He can even make some really great swords and shields and all of that. His prices are comparable to what's in the player's handbook. He works mainly on, a sense of pride and providing others what they need, so his markups aren't huge. He's actually very fairly priced. He's also a member of the Harpers, if you'd believe it. With a DC 22 persuasion check, he can be convinced to let your players in on that little secret. If any of your characters are members of the Harpers, they can make this check with advantage, or they can pass automatically at your discretion. Grendel's been working against Nerth ever since he became a member of the Harpers. He's basically the only person who knows that Nerth is a Zhentarim agent, but he can't out the guy without first outing himself. If your party ingratiates themselves to Grendel, he's going to try to recruit them to his cause of getting Nerth out of power, short of killing the speaker. Grendel's not that kind of guy. He just wants you to neutralize him somehow. I don't have any ready-made quests for you in this regard, but if you want to make something up and share it with this community, that would be fantastic. I want to read what ideas you have for getting Nerth out of power with a minimal amount of bloodshed. So definitely comment down below and let's see who's got the best quest. Next up on our new locations, we have the Church of the Endless Winter. This was a really fun location for me to run in my own game. I wanted Oral to have some sort of church presence, some sort of, legitimate presence within 10 towns that was causing all of these sacrifices. It had to start somewhere. The people of 10 towns didn't just decide, oh yeah, we're gonna throw some people naked outside the gates, or we're gonna get rid of half of our food, or we're gonna open up our doors to the cold. No, somebody had to convince them that this is what you do. And the Church of the Endless Winter is who did that. This particular branch of the church in Targos is a big stone building. As your characters approach it, they'll notice that the doors and all of the windows are gone. This opens up the interior of the church to Aural's cold winter winds. This is intentional. You see, the people inside, there's several parishioners and one priestess in there. They want to feel the cold. They want to be one with Aural. As your party goes inside, they'll also notice something else. There's iconography of Lathander everywhere, except it's all covered in ice and rime, and some of it, where it's within reach, has been covered by a blanket. This used to be a church of Lathander, and the priestess here used to be a priestess of Lathander as well. However, since Aural took over the sun and made it so it doesn't really come up here anymore, the priestess feels like Lathander has lost his power, lost his presence, and the best bet was to put her chips in with Aural, the new god in town. The priestess's name is Denia. She's not a bad person by any means. At worst, she's neutral. She really just wants what's best for everybody, and she wants to be on the winning team, you know? Aside from information, Denia can also provide some measure of material assistance. She doesn't have a whole lot available to her in the church, but she is extremely well connected. She knows almost everybody in town, and everybody in town respects, maybe more so fears, Denia. If your party wants something and they ask her, she's perfectly willing to help them out and point them in the right direction. But first, she's going to want a little sacrifice, and that is some bodily warmth, sacrificed in the name of Aural. Behind the church, there is a frozen over pool with a hole in it. Anybody can dip themselves into this hole, submerge themselves for a little bit, and come right back out. They'll be chilled to the bone, but the sacrifice will be complete, and Denia will be more than happy to help with any requests that they have. Next up, we have the ASH Quarter. We've already talked quite a bit about this so far, so there's only a little bit more to add. There isn't much here in the ASH Quarter because everything's ruins. But you know what ruins are good for? Of course you do. They're great for treasure hunting and putting in things that the party has to go and find. So if they've got a fetch quest and you don't want to put it out in the remote areas of the Dale, go ahead and stick it in the ASH Quarter and have them go hunt for it there. Additionally, if your party has been hanging around the taverns, maybe they've heard the rumor of a ghostly figure wandering around the ASH Quarter lately. Ghostly woman in a flowing white gown and whatnot. Well, they're going to find her here skulking about if they can be stealthy enough, and they'll find Esther Tarsnell in her ghostly form. You see, Esther has been wandering around here for the last 2 years. When she was sacrificed, something went wrong. She didn't become a cold light walker like all of the other sacrifices. What happened, I don't know. But Esther didn't get turned. And she woke up, she regained consciousness standing over her own dead body in the snow. She decided to go home and find some place to stay, and the ASH Quarter was it. She stays out of sight for the most part, and she definitely does not want to be spotted by her own family. But that doesn't stop her from checking in on Stefania and Owen when she believes that they're asleep. Stefania's kind of caught a glimpse of Esther standing at the foot of her bed now and then, but she thinks it's a dream, and Esther is more than happy to let Stefania keep believing that. She wants to watch her daughter grow up, but more than that, she wants to leave the material plane. Esther has no idea why she is tied here, why she is stuck. The truth is, Esther is stuck here by unfinished business. She has a deep desire to stop these human sacrifices. And if anybody in your party wants to do that, if they share that ambition, Esther is all for coming with you and helping make this happen. If they do make that happen and the human sacrifices stop, well, Esther's material plane ambitions are finished, and she is released from her tie to this plane. She can move on. Last up, we have the mountain climb quest. We've made a few small changes here. First among them is a time limit, 2d4 plus 2 days. That's how long your party has to find Garrett before he freezes to death on Kelvin's cairn. You see, you don't want your party getting a whole bunch of extra side quests and then ignoring this one while Garrett just sits up there, and what happens to him? Well, he probably freezes to death, but the module doesn't make that entirely clear. It doesn't put any set limits on it. So here you go, 2d4 plus 2 days, that's how much time you have. In order to meet that time limit, Keegan's going to give you an extra bit of help. You see, he's going to insist that you guys take one of their extra dog sled teams and go find Garrett. That is, if your party doesn't have a dog sled team of their own. If they do have one of their own, or if they do take the extra sled team, he's going to also insist that they take Boy with them. Boy is Garrett's favorite sled dog, and Boy is the one who came to you and basically asked you for help. He knows where Garrett is, so he's going to lead you straight to him. When your party does find Garrett up on Kelvin's cairn, he's not going to be laying face down in the snow. That's a surefire way to just freeze to death as fast as possible. I mean, look at what happened to Asterix further up on the mountain. Instead, Garrett's going to be in a little snow cave of his own making, trying to keep warm. Or if you'd rather have him further down the mountain, he could be huddled up with the other sled dogs, but too exhausted to do anything. He can't help himself, he can't get back on the sled. Your party's going to have to basically revive him and get him back to health. Aside from that, this entire quest is run as is. What changes did you make to Targos? I want to hear all about them. Go ahead and comment down below. Let me know what you changed. Let me know what you added. And definitely don't forget to click the subscribe button, and I will see you next time.